seeing several indexes in the red. Sensex and Nifty are only marginally in the red, but it is red all right. And mid-cap index, the Nifty Bank is down about 0.5%. Largely the weight being pulled down by HDFC Bank and even to some extent Kotak and IndusInd Bank. Well, with that backdrop of the Sensex within touching distance of 47,000, been there, done that. Let's invite our market master, Tushar Pradhan, CIO, HSBC Global Asset Management, joins us. Tushar, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. The first question I want to ask you is that should we just go on riding this equity rally? Some AMCs like ICICI are launching this balanced advantage, probably wanting investors to have the option of moving into bonds as well. Do you think the time has come for that?
Well, there is always a time for asset allocation, and I've always been a proponent of being a little, I would say, circumspect. As you were mentioning earlier also, just because there's an equity rally is not a reason for everybody to invest in equity. I think, however, there is an important point to make from an asset allocation perspective. Everyone should realize that fixed income has its own sway in the asset allocation picture. And depending on how much you want to retain the capital within a portfolio without undue gyration is a matter of choice. However, I must say that over the last year, there was a fair bit of uncertainty across the world. And what we are now looking at is what we have termed it as a restoration economy, which means that while there is reason for us to get worried about valuation, at the same time, you have to understand that in the restoration economy, we will see a pretty significant uptick across all economic parameters. And that is always going to be a base effect running through. So you're really running after, or let's say running against momentum to a certain extent. And it is going to be, a guessing game whether you had allocated to equity or debt throughout this period.
Okay. By the way, it's the first shade of red we've seen in a while in the last 4-5 days in this market. So it's a very quiet consolidation that's going on. Tushar, many thanks for joining us today. So, when you look out at 2021 and you look at the, portfolio, the top-down view, are you going to be looking at changes? I mean, IT and pharma were the big leaders for this year. Now there's a lot of enthusiasm around the economy. So would you be adding more capex or manufacturing-related plays?
Yeah, I think there is a need for relook. There has been significant rotation even as we speak. But I think as we go along, clearly the first set of rotation away from staples we've seen almost in the last few months, where the valuations reach a peak and eventually all of the other sectors start to look a lot more attractive. So while it will be difficult to make a significant sector call away from where we are today, I think clearly merits a look in terms of what are the sectors which are likely to improve first. And then, there is always a chronology around how these things work forward. There are still some uncertainties left. For example, the labor angle is still a little uncertain. We still have inflation as a big worry, which means product prices, pricing power essentially is something which, it looks as if it is returning. Where that leads us to, from a margins perspective, it's still a question. So instead of making a broad statement that, yes, manufacturing is going to revive, I think definitely some manufacturing will clearly revive. And I think it all depends, again, on capital structure, the ability for a company to pay back its interest on time, as well as make sure that the product prices that it gets as raw materials are within range, which means translating into margins at some point of time. So I think, yes, this is a time to relook. We also have, a set of companies where we call Revive. So after the Thrive in this current situation, we have a set of companies we feel will revive eventually. Sure. And I think that's exactly the point you were making.
Okay, well, don't lose focus on what's happening in the market. Remember, we were talking about how it's better to be cautious in the mid-cap space. The mid-cap index is now down about 0.3%, 70 points lower. The market breadth has moved significantly in favor of declines, over 1,300 stocks now. And there's large-scale selling seen. Burger King, of course, is down 10%. AU Small Finance Bank is down 6%. Yes Bank is down 4%. So all your leaders in the last 10-15 days are starting to come off quite a bit. Tushar, just stay on because I want your thoughts on the metal space. There's a positive note coming on Tata Steel. My colleague Nigel is here to detail that for us, and then I'll come to you. Nigel, over to you.
Well, Morgan Stanley has come out with a note on Tata Steel, and actually, if you're tracking the steel prices, they're stating the most obvious, and that's why the stocks are not reacting as of now. We know that steel prices have been on a surge both in India as well as the rest of the globe. Now, the point they're making out here is that the European steel spreads, they've improved, and that's going to be good financially for the company. And remember, Tata Steel, they spoke to us as well. They spoke in the con call as well. They said spreads are likely to improve. The point that Morgan Stanley makes is that deliveries for April as well as for May, that's next year, 2021, ArcelorMittal, they're pushing through price increases. And the recent price increase is to the tune of around 50 to around 60 euros per ton. The cumulative increase is around 150 euros per ton in the last 1 month or so. And global prices on the whole have moved up as well, remember. Now, what does this do in terms of the European business? Remember, traditionally, the spreads on the European business are around $250 to around $350 per ton. In the last quarter, it was hovering around that $250 per ton. Now, with this increase, it goes substantially higher to around $500 per ton. And on the back of that, they say that spreads will improve. Maybe, in fact, the Tata Steel European business can take care of itself, and that prevents cash burn. So all in all, they're viewing the steel price increase. The outlook as well, is positive, particularly for the European business. And remember, the management is looking at divesting this. So this helps them. This helps their cause by the steel prices moving up and spreads improving. Back to you guys.
Okay. Thanks a lot for that, Nigel. To some extent, that is what the stock market apparently has anticipated. Look at the sharp run-up we have seen, and, Nigel did that excellent valuations chart on metals a few days back. Tushar, is this incremental news that we need to discount, and do you expect metal prices to rise even more? And then even the dollar is crashing. That's very commodities positive. Or do you think metals have had their run?
No, I clearly feel that there is a lot more to go. Essentially because, again, coming back to the theme that we had identified, that this year, the world is going to go through a restoration phase, which means that all of the beaten down stocks, all of the underlying economies which really went into some severe shock, will come back on. And when they come back on, there is also an element of what we call a pent-up demand. There have been individuals who have been cooped up in their homes. As you know, especially in the Western world, they are not really happy with the kind of restrictions they have on their freedom. And when they start to see some sort of restoration, which is again on the back of a successful vaccine, hopefully well distributed across the world, that is the time that they will actually come out with a significant demand. And I think that hits your metal story right in the center of the target. So I would not be too quick to take money off the table. I think this is just the beginning in terms of how we view the restoration economy to eventually work out. Of course, there will be limits to growth, and it is not going to be blue sky from here on to say that we will have a multi-year economic upturn. But clearly, I think at least for the short term going into the next year, there is going to be plenty of momentum.
Okay, for now, all indices have moved into the red. So the Sensex, Nifty, Midcap and Bank Nifty are now down. The Bank Nifty is down almost 200 points. So there's definitely some selling pressure creeping in. Tushar, I was going through your note, and in that you talk about a couple of sets of companies that you would buy and avoid. In your avoid set, you say that there are companies that you've identified that will merely survive in this post-COVID era, as they will neither have the natural advantages of the post-COVID factors, nor will they be in a position to significantly do anything about their circumstances. Can you just tell us what are these companies or sectors that one should avoid now?
Well, I think it's definitely going to be companies which, for the fact that the COVID situation has really hit them hard, will turn their fortunes around a little bit, but they will merely survive. I talk about restaurants, I talk about chains, I talk about essentially the entire hospitality sector. While it will try to revive a little bit, it is still going to be only in survival mode. Why, I tell you, is because there's a huge bailout, especially in aviation in the United States, where there's a massive, bailout in terms of cash supply to these companies just to stay afloat. Now, remember, their revenues are not anywhere near the average. When the season starts and people start to travel again, it is not going to make a difference to their profitability. It will just make sure that they stay afloat, which means that the current volume, as it will start picking up, will ensure that working capital and essentially revenues will make sure that the business runs, but there will not be any profitability. And the charges they will have taken because of this big, I would say, gap in earnings in the last year, it will take some time for them to revive. So I think these are companies that we identify as merely survive. They are the ones who have taken the biggest brunt of the COVID outbreak. And I don't think anything in the horizon tells me that they are going to jump back quickly into profitability. There may be asset reallocations, there may be sales, there may be private equity action around very large chunks of hotel properties, for example. But I think as an enterprise, it will struggle to survive.
Okay. Tushar, which brings me back to the revive. So there's thrive, there's revive, and there's survive. Let's talk about the revive, because that's where the money could be made, right? Now, how to look at it? I mean, should we look at ball bearing companies, industrial boiler companies, the transformer guys? What do you think? Where will the revive happen first? Give us some color.
Yeah, I think the energy sector is a very interesting space because of the whole climate change issue. Because of the whole way in which we will change our supply chains, because according to the Paris Agreement, we have to achieve, this big goal of reduction of 2 degrees of temperature across the world. We're very far away from that target right now. But I think the seriousness across investors, across capital allocators is coming to a point where they are really, really now targeting companies which will help make this transition. So when I talk about energy, I think the traditional energy companies are going to again find it very difficult to revive. However, the infrastructure is not in place for moving completely away from a non-fossil kind of environment. So it will take some time for us to realize who the winners are. But I think I would look at the revive also to focus on the newer sectors which will do well. So it is not a return back to saying the older sectors will start doing well again. It is about how we replace the supply chain, and whether it is better semiconductors, it is better fuel efficient engines, whether it is while it is going still into a car, maybe the companies which are going to participate in this might be a little different. So I think the question is not as easy to solve, and I myself am worried about which ones to pick at the moment. But again, I must share that I think the new is going to be a little different than what we expected a revival to be.
Okay. Well, let me squeeze in a last question on this entire PLI scheme. Some of the winners are already up in a way, the Amber Dixon variety. But there are more sectors. There are textiles and marine and, now specialty steel, we understand. Any more sectors that you would want to watch out for? And would you be rather a mid-cap picker in 2021?
Yeah, I think mid-caps do represent a fairly interesting space. And especially I would talk about the lower end of the mid-cap and the small cap, because that's where, significant gains can be made. Because if you look at the mid-cap per se, the way the description of market cap is, they are pretty big companies by themselves. So I think there is very little opportunity that way. But I think if you go down the cap curve, I think there are definitely companies which, as you mentioned, some of them which are on the cusp of either a supply chain, diversification into India, or some specialty skills which are available into India, which suddenly come into limelight. I think there's a range of companies to look at. That makes stock picking exciting. They are not essentially today on the limelight. So these are companies which are, I would say, yet to be discovered. And that's what I would encourage investors to do, especially institutional investors, because that's really where the exciting next phase is likely to come in India.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Tushar Pradhan, thank you very much for joining us, and hope you have a